Hi, this is Deborah. Deborah Bird. I'm here to welcome you officially to the Makerspace startup process. I see that we have 11 participants online. I'd request that you open your chat at this point. I've got a note there to everyone. If you could please just let us know who's there, and please confirm that you can see the screen and that you can hear me. We'll give it another moment for everyone to get situated. Oh, we're up to 16 people. So let's get started, but I just want to hear from someone to know that I can see. Oh, okay, good. Great. Hi, Israel, David, Craig. Excellent, excellent. Okay, good. Can I just confirm you're seeing the PowerPoint presentation, correct? And can you see me as well? Oh, excellent. Okay, good. That seems to be working. Fantastic. Well, welcome. Thanks very much for taking the time to join us on this very wet and stormy day down here in Los Angeles. I'd like to, at first, just first of all, welcome everyone. There we go. And let you know what we'll be talking about today. We sent out a welcome email several days ago, and we just want to make sure that as we go through the elements of that memo, that everyone understands where we are. The main thing about this webinar is to welcome you into the community, and also to let you know that we're here to help you, and we're going to meet you where you are. And that everything we do in this process is going to be highly experimental, and that's what we want. We're really about developing an exploration of the maker movement and how it can connect to the community college system, and how it can benefit our students, and how it can help our students develop their careers. So we'll be talking about the elements that were in the memo, so if you have that there, you may want to just follow along as well. So first we're going to talk a little about the college's unique plan, that each of you will have your own unique plan. And then about the importance of our community of practice. We're going to discuss a little bit about how making prepares students for the careers of the future, and how we will be helping you with resources to help you develop your own plan. Oh, and of course, we're all in this together, and we'll carry on with the next steps. One thing I would ask, sorry, I forgot to mention this before, if you have specific questions about the Makerspace startup plan, or about any other questions that require a specific answer, I'd request that you enter those as questions in the Q&A section, because that way we have a written record of all the questions, and it will help us to follow up with you. During the course of the webinar today, I'll be addressing some of the questions and comments that have already come up, so you may hear some of the things that you're interested in. Okay, so let's get started. First off, the big question here is, what can go right? And this is a question that's being asked by our advisory. What are the positive outcomes that can come out of this process? So we're very optimistic, we're very forward thinking about this, and we're looking for opportunities. And I would just remind everyone, we're only just starting with this process. We have a good 4 months ahead of us before we finish the first implementation planning phase, and this is a new way of working. So we hope that you're all comfortable with the community that we're building, and I hope that you're going to be sharing. And of course, the great message here is just stay calm and carry on making. So about the unique plan that your college will be developing, the thing that's really crucial, and we understand about all of the community colleges that are participating in this program, is that every college has a unique mix of students, faculty, you're serving different industry sectors, and you're all working with a different level of existing facilities. So with students, we have different demographic groups, we have specific needs. With faculty, we have representatives of a variety of different programs and a level of familiarity with the maker movement. With industry sectors, because our colleges are from around the entire state, we know that our colleges are going to be in regions that serve specific industry sectors. And we know that you will be taking that into consideration as you design your makerspace. And also the issues of your own region will be important. And that could be everything from physical infrastructure, proximity to resources, transportation systems, etc., that will impact the way that you develop or visualize your system. Our goal is to help every college develop a plan that works for you. There is no one size fits all. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we have in common and a lot of the same questions that we're trying to address, but ultimately every solution will be unique. And it's key to remember that that's okay. The other thing is our makerspaces will continue to evolve. We're only just getting started with this. Only about half the colleges currently participating in the program have a makerspace. So we have a wide range of colleges participating in this project. So our goal is to help you develop an implementation plan over the next couple of months so that you know how you want to proceed. And then that will form the basis that will enable you to apply for the next phase of the CCC Maker Grants. So our community of practice. Well, as of the close of our period where we were accepting the letters of intent, we found 35 colleges wanted to participate in this program, which is really exciting. That's nearly a third of the community colleges in California. So we can argue that just starting with 35 colleges at the beginning of this process means we already have a community of practice that is diverse, that is geographically spread throughout the state, and that we have a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge, a lot of questions and a lot of challenges already for our community to address. And the principal things to think about as we address our community of practice and as we work together is that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. This is key. We will rely on each other for expertise, for learning, for sharing resources, for developing ideas and making sure that we're updated. The key thing here is our success really depends not on the success of any individual college, but on the community as a whole. And this is very much in keeping with the 21st century skills that we're asking our students to develop as we proceed. So key, collaboration and communication. We'll all be engaging in some critical thinking as we move forward and develop our plans. And we'll also be looking at creative problem solving because all of us will be working with constraints as we develop our systems and move forward. It's really interesting, as a faculty member too, I'm thinking, oh, I see, yes, a contact point, yes, and we are working on that right now. I'll address it in a moment. It's like having a class. It's very interesting as a faculty member. About 35 people in a class is a pretty substantial group. But with that size of class, we can certainly create a pretty dynamic and interesting environment. I got a question from Israel. Will you provide us all with each of the college CCC Maker contact points? Yes, we are. I'm going to address this a bit later on, but I'll mention it now. We have a situation where the project lead from each college, the person who may have handled the project up to this point, may not be the faculty lead and may not be the person who's on the ground on a day-to-day basis. So we are asking all the colleges to let us know who the faculty contact is within their college. That list will be available through our website and as we communicate as we go forward. So you will see who you already know at your neighbouring colleges and develop the relationships with the people with whom you'll be working on in different areas, not just geographically, but also in terms of curriculum, etc. So this is the list of colleges. You can see 35 colleges here, and that we are extremely excited to see that so many colleges have chosen to participate. These are the colleges that are actively participating through the startup phase. And as you know, all of the resources that we're producing are open source. They're available for everyone to share. So other colleges and other institutions and people will be accessing these resources in order to develop their own plans. So our goal is not just to work with this participating colleges, but also to create a body of knowledge that can then be used when this initiative moves to the entire college system. So, Kumu, let me know, who out there is working with Kumu? Who's had a go? I know Zach at Folsom has. Yes, I see Robert. Yes, I'm seeing a few people. And Sierra has, great. Yes, well, I've been working with Kumu too, but I want to just step back a little and talk about what the real purpose of Kumu is. We're going to be using Kumu to look at qualitative data. So in other words, we're really looking at Kumu as a way of creating a visual connective network map of your ecosystem within which your makerspace and your project will be developed. We're mapping these relationships using Kumu because mapping and visualizing data, I'm sure as most of you know, is a really effective way of identifying where connections are, where the strengths are, and also in identifying where the gaps in our ecosystem is. So if you think about this as an ongoing system, we'll use Kumu to start a map, to map the relationships that exist, identify the areas where we need to grow our ecosystem, and then create the connections between the relevant parts. Then we can use the mapping itself to evaluate the health and strength of our ecosystem. And then we can evaluate it in order to extend and grow the system. So when you see this, when this webinar is posted on the website, that Kumu is actually a link there. The other thing about using qualitative data is it helps us evaluate the problems that we're trying to solve in a reflective sort of way. We're not analysing numerical data so much as we're thinking about this on a human level. So Kumu is really working with entities, so people, organisations, etc. And it will help us to see where we are in terms of the larger ecosystem, because I'm actually working on the mapping at the state level. So while you're working on an ecosystem for your own individual college, this Kumu map here is showing all of the different colleges that are participating. So allow me to, and I'm going to, I'm going to hop over to Kumu. All right. Can you just confirm that you can actually see this map on the screen? Great. Excellent. Good-o. So I just want to start with a good example. For example, where are we? The LA region and Orange County. You can see here that we have a range of different colleges that are participating. And I'm showing that each of these colleges is at a different stage of makerspace development. So we'll have within different communities or within different regions, we'll see colleges that have a developed makerspace or colleges that are just starting. So within that region, these colleges will all be working together. This information comes from the survey that the colleges conducted sometime last year, where you were asked about what resources you had, your level of commitment to a makerspace, and whether you would be willing to work in a community practice, whether you already had systems of internships, etc. So I don't want to go into the technical details of this at this point, except to say that when you develop your own ecosystem map, I will be linking that map to this map and then creating a meta series of data. What we're also going to do is every 6 months or so, we're going to download your data and create a system-wide map that shows where everyone is. And if we do that every 6 months as we work through the process, we'll have a series of maps that show the growth of the system. And we believe this is really important because it's going to show the power of the maker movement in its ability to form community. And that will help us as we move towards moving this into a larger scale. Okay. I've worked on Kumu probably about, I don't know, 12, 16 hours. And I know that Zach's worked on it as well. And I've also, I have to say, it's an interesting and very powerful tool, but there is a learning curve with it. And we will be working with you to ensure that this, that we can get you started as easily as possible. And in fact, so to get you started and to make it as easy as possible, and I'm going to go back to whoops. Sorry. Okay. All right. So I should be back in the PowerPoint presentation. I hope you can see that now. We'll be using a template system so that you don't have to create all of your own categories. This will help us when it comes to mapping at the state level for the meta map. We're trying to find as many elements and identities as possible so that all the maps can then be merged into one data set. So what we're asking is that when you receive the template, which will be coming out next week, that you are that we integrate or you import this template into your Kumu map and then start to use the categories that we've already defined. Now, people will have elements and entities that they want to add, and we're currently thinking about the best way to do that. So we may ask that we see from everyone which categories they would like to add and see if we can find one category that can then cover those elements. Or we may say we're going to just stay with this baseline of information that we've given you, and that other elements, other categories that you add would become part of your individual map. Now, our principle is always to keep it as open source and as flexible as possible. We don't want to limit what you're doing. So as much as possible, we want this to be very open. However, the true value of this system is if we are all using some shared elements so that we can gather effectively. In fact, someone just asked that, Ron. Yes, that's what we're working on at the moment. And I would love to hear what you would like to do. Please feel free to give us feedback on that. I also noticed a question from David regarding the designation of your college or college district. Any corrections that need to be made to the Kumu map that I'm developing for the state, please let me know, because I'm going off information from the survey, and I understand that some of the college arrangements may have changed during the time that that this process was going on. Okay. Now, on the flip side of the qualitative data, obviously, we're interested in quantitative data as well. So in the same way that we'll be using data from Kumu in mapping to help us look at our system and find ways of improving and growing, we'll be doing the same thing using other data sources that are available to you, and you will have many. You'll have CalPass Plus, your own institutional research data. You may even have your own data that you've been doing with focus groups, surveys, SurveyMonkey, you know, various online surveys, etc., or feedback systems that you have. The main thing that we're looking at with quantitative data is we want you to access your data and to look at it and really think about what you're seeing. We know we're talking a lot about inclusiveness in this project, and I've got on the screen here our own data for Pasadena City College, looking at the gender gap, the equity gap in gender. And so, you know, this is obviously a key element, particularly when we're talking about STEM careers. So becoming familiar with that and really being able to look at the scale of the gap, and being then able to prioritize which elements or which weaknesses or gaps in your system that you want to address through this Maker project, then, you know, this is going to be the kind of information you're going to need. It also is great because it gives you a baseline with which to compare your progress, so that after your Makerspace is up and running, what improvements do you see within those areas? So this quantitative data will help us define the problem, develop solutions that are going to address these very specific issues, take action, experiment, try something, then evaluate whether it's working, see if it improves your data, moves your needle, and then repeat. So this is going to be an ongoing process. It's, you know, data is our friend. We often maybe think about it as something that reveals a weakness in our systems, but that's where the opportunity lies. And none of this is intended to work, it's not punitive at all. This is all information, and this will make our projects better and more successful. So, right, and now to this question of making prepared students for the careers of the future. And this is really at the heart of the project. And this, to me, is the most important question we should be asking. How are these makerspaces going to help our students get to successful middle-skill jobs, well-paying jobs in STEM and STEAM careers? We're working within the Doing What Matters framework, and we know that if we can embed making into as many aspects of the curriculum and the student experience as possible, and if we can link making to specific industry partners, then this is the way we're going to see the most success with our with our students in their career development. And to develop that a little bit further, I saw a great example last week, heard on Science Friday, that a nanotech project has allowed for the development of the most densely knotted molecule yet developed. Now, this molecule, as it was described by the scientist, is one of maybe 6 billion ways that a knot can be made, right? What I thought was fascinating was that this idea of knotting is at the heart of a lot of the work that we do in making, particularly in craft-based making, so knitting, weaving, etc. There's also the idea of circuits and continuity of information. So it's working on a number of different levels. This material was developed not with a specific intention in mind, but developed because they know that a densely packed molecule will have a lot of applications in new material. So simply the development of this technology is going to spur a whole new range of development of secondary technologies. We don't know where this is going to lead, but we know that our students will be living in a world where this kind of technological development is happening constantly. I wanted to compare this on the right with a Celtic knot. To develop this, a student really has to think about complexity, scale, and technique. The learning that goes into developing this project on the right through a makerspace is the equivalent thinking of the technique that's used on the left. In order to take students from thinking in levels of complexity and interaction of components and to get them to nanotechnology, we need a conceptual bridge. We need students to be able to understand process. So I thought this was a good example. This is, you know, for anyone who's asking, well, why makerspaces? There are a host of connections that we can see in pedagogy. Now, why is this really important? Because we're seeing this development of technology accelerating. It's not just the type of technological change that's happening, it's the rate at which it's happening. Now, this is highly disruptive, as we know, and as we're seeing in our economy at the moment, but it's also the landscape of possibility and opportunity for our students in the future. It's going to transform the workplace. It's going to develop occupations, jobs, and careers that really don't exist yet. There is an enormous human cost in this transformation that's currently taking place. One of our responsibilities in using making in our educational system is using design thinking and using the idea of who we are developing work for and what we're producing our projects for, so that we can develop empathy within our community. This is crucial because our students are going to will need to understand processes that will still have to interact with the human experience, even as they become highly technological. So one way to think about it is that process, the learning process, is going to be much more important than the content. We won't be able to keep up with the content as instructors. So we need to focus on the process for students to learn so that they can keep on learning. Another way to think about it, and this is addressed in the Thomas Friedman book, the new one, Thanks for Being Late. He doesn't say this directly, but when he talks about the explosive growth of both hardware in terms of storage capacity and also the development of software that's exploding based on open source systems, we're really looking at this question about what is the difference between software and hardware. And if we think of ourselves in those terms, we need to be thinking about ourselves and our own learning more in terms of software than hardware, right? So it's an evolutionary change that's taking place. This is something that we started thinking about 5 years ago when we started our makerspace here at Pasadena City College. We have a reference, Race Against the Machine. I believe it was published in 2010, 2011. And it was talking about self-driving cars coming sometime like in the next 10 years or so. And we were talking to our colleagues and saying, this is coming, it's going to be here within 10 years. Well, you know, guess what? We were wrong. It was less than half that time. And so when they followed up, when Brynjolfsson and McAfee followed up with their second publication, The Second Machine Age, they were already addressing the issue that the projections that they'd made in their first book were actually too conservative. There's a link at the top of this page to a TED Talk, which many of you may have seen, which is talking about the effect of Moore's law on technology and the workplace and what it means for the future of work. I'd highly recommend that everyone have a look. It's pretty entertaining and it's only about 15 minutes. This is also the kind of stuff that we're going to be posting on the website as resources. So we really want to hear from you guys about resources, books, publications, webinars, etc., TED Talks that we can post. So please feel free. Okay, now how can we help? As technical assistance providers, Pasadena City College and Sierra College, we're here to facilitate your process. And we're going to be providing as many resources and activities as we can. Because we are dispersed across the state, we're looking at doing a lot of our work through the website and through webinars. But we will also be conducting workshops in different regions and regional meetings. So there'll be a lot of opportunities to get together both virtually and physically. We would also encourage you to work with the colleges that are in proximity with you and to develop that on-the-ground collaboration. And we can help you facilitate that by getting people connected. We also have a number of special service providers who are working with us, and we had a list in the previous webinar, and they will be available to contact directly as well. Specifically in terms of the Kumu mapping that we're doing at the moment with ecosystem mapping, Amy Schultz from NACI is working with us on that. And she has webinars that are and will be uploaded onto the website. And then we also have two on-the-ground workshops, one in Pasadena next week and another in San Mateo in a couple of weeks. The details we'll see later. We want to support communication and team building. So this community of practice is our primary focus right now because we want to get people connected, because we know that, the community of practice will leverage our progress. We also are here to encourage you to take risks and to try something different. This is an opportunity not to play it safe. And as you see with what's happening with technology and the rate of change that we're dealing with, a big risk making an experiment can pay off enormously, even if it fails, because if it fails, then you learn what doesn't work. I would also say that one of the aspects of Moore's law that's a little frightening is that there's an opportunity cost involved. The longer you leave an experiment or the longer you leave testing your ideas, the more time you've lost. And as things are accelerating, we need to make sure that we, as we say, fail fast and fail often. So we're encouraging you to be fearless. There's no wrong answers, right? If something screws up, if you have problems, that's great. Let us know. We're there to help. We will not be able to solve all your problems, and we will not have all the answers immediately, but we can help. We can put you in touch with people who can. We can identify if numerous colleges are having similar problems, and we can address that holistically, etc. So through sharing and eliciting feedback and support, we can help build and grow the system. So please let us know any of the issues that you're thinking as soon as it becomes an issue, and we'll get on it as quickly as we can. So don't be afraid to ask us. We're here to help. No judgment, just support. Okay, so innovative and unique results. As we said, no two makerspaces are going to be the same. And I've got a little diagram there on the side to kind of give you an idea of what the range might be. We could end up scattered all across a matrix like this. We may find that in a scenario where we're encouraging an informal makerspace organization within an academic environment, that might mean that it's open to a lot of clubs, to individual students, and there's a lot of flexibility in the approach. At the same time, the college may also have other elements which might be an academic and structured model in support of a very specific program. So for example, a certificate program in making, or something that's closely aligned to, say, an engineering technology program. It may also, the structure may also allow for more interdisciplinary collaboration. So within an academic environment where you're getting two programs working together, there may need to be a bit more structure in order to make that work effectively. You may find yourself with a more commercial makerspace in a more structured environment if you perhaps become sponsored by a major corporation that has its own needs. So it's tied to industry, but it may be relatively structured in terms of access. On the other hand, we have other makerspaces that are working on a commercial model that are informal. So for example, the Hacker Lab in Sacramento. Now, that's a lab that is a commercial entity, but it's also affiliated with an academic institution. So we may find ourselves all over this map, and that's fine. You may have elements of each of this type of scenario within your makerspace. We may also find that some regions or some colleges are better served by a makerspace that is in an existing space, or may find another space on campus or off campus, may be even located in another school, like in a high school that may have available space, or even in a mobile lab. So the plans that you're developing will all be highly individualized, but at the core, they will all have these elements that will make them successful. They'll be rigorous and realistic, and that's going to be based on the data and research that you're doing, and the experimentation and planning that you'll be doing over the next couple of months. We know that a successful plan is going to be highly student-centric. It's going to be starting with the idea of how do we get these students into successful careers. And then an implementation plan that's successful will also address all of the project outcomes. So for example, we have our four main areas: the community of practice, of which I've just been speaking, curriculum development that is specifically embedding making at multiple levels across multiple disciplines and in many formal and informal situations. The successful program will have a clear path to internships. As you know, the goal of this pilot project is to reach the goal of 1,000 internships over the course of the program, over the project. I'm optimistic that we will be able to meet that number because we have so many enthusiastic colleges involved. So, and we'll be able to develop systems that can become statewide as a result of this. And then, of course, last but not least is the Makerspace plan itself. But please notice, the Makerspace is the last thing on the list. We really develop the Makerspace through the lens of internships, through curriculum, and through this community of practice. It's not just a room full of equipment. It is a living community that will have its own culture and its own methodologies, as you like. So please, in the packet that we sent out, the information packet that we sent out in December, there's timelines and due dates. Those are guides, right? They're not deadlines. Everyone's going to meet these requirements at a different pace. Some colleges may already be heavily invested in data and may have a lot of that already on hand, and a fully developed ecosystem that's strong in some ways that they can already start mapping. Other colleges who are starting at a different place may take longer to develop that component, right? For the same reason, when we're looking at, for example, Makerspace development, some people already have labs with equipment. Others have literally nothing and are starting from scratch, and all of that's okay. We also know that within the Makerspace deadlines, we want everyone to tackle some sort of maker project as a curriculum element. And we were already contacted by several colleges who say, oh, we already do that, and we have students compete in competitions and they present their work at Maker Faire. So that's great. Some colleges are already doing that. What I would ask and what I would suggest is that the colleges who are already well along that track help the colleges who are just starting out. There's so much to be learned by teaching. So by helping others, it will help develop and improve, and grow your own capacity. So timelines, not deadlines. Resources, not requirements. We're going to be putting out as many resources as we can. Now, we understand everyone's busy and that you may not be able to log into every single webinar, or you may not be able to go to every single workshop or read every publication, but the information is there. And what I would suggest you do is that as you develop your team, make sure that someone in your team is looking at each of these resources. So you may spread those resources amongst your team. We may find, and a good example of this would be, we were asked by one of the colleges about conference attendance and whether it would be a good idea to go to a particular conference. Well, we've got 35 colleges and there's a bunch of conferences out there. Many of us have already been to some conferences and would recommend some over others. We should share that information. And also additionally, we don't need to send everyone from every college to every conference. We can be strategic about covering our resources and conference attendance in, by a system that we haven't yet developed, but we can develop one. And the one thing I would suggest is that anyone who goes to a conference or who accesses some resource outside of our own network, please share that resource. We'll make sure it's posted on the website. Blog about it. Give us your evaluation of it as a resource, right? And this doesn't necessarily just apply to things that we would recommend. It may also apply to things that we think maybe aren't worth the time or the resources, the money, the personnel to pursue. So please consider that as well. When you're thinking about this and when you're making decisions for these next couple of months, remember, we're not being prescriptive about how or what you do with your time, your money, your people, etc. We're asking you to follow some guiding principles. That is this resource that you're thinking of using, or spending your money on a particular item or a particular service, does that help to make your makerspace more inclusive? Does it help to address the gaps in your ecosystem or the weaknesses in your institutional data? How is it actually improving the makerspace ecosystem itself? Ask once again, is this decision going to lead to a growing, more open mindset within your community? Will it help bring other faculty members into your group, into your community of practice, for example? Will it help your students think more in terms of lifelong learning and learning to learn? Is that going to give them confidence? Is that going to improve their success? Is that going to help them develop the employability skills that are going to make them successful in a, in an internship? And finally, think about this. Is it process or is it content? Is this something that helps build a system that we can continue to use? Or is it something that's going to end up becoming rigid and fixed? And, we've had experience with this. All of us have had experience with this, where we mistake one for the other. We think something is going to be a solution and it ends up becoming a constraint. So, and that's okay, but as long as we recognize that that's what's happening. So please think in terms of guiding principles rather than rules. Okay, we are all in this together. Here's our website. I'm sure most of you have logged onto it at some point. I would just want to say, reiterate, we are all on a learning curve, ourselves included. We're learning new software, we're learning new modes of communication. We're learning also about the value of both formal and informal communications. So we have these more structured situations, and we also have, hopefully, friendships and collegial relations and collaborations that are going to develop informally through this process as well. It's about accessing this flow of information and embracing the evolution of the project. And it's also, we're identifying shared challenges. And I see that John has just said 1,000 internships statewide. And that's correct. We're looking at 1,000 internships. That's the goal. That is definitely a shared challenge, and that's something that we'll be working on. But as I said, these will be paid internships too. So students will be paid to participate in this. So we have motivation for students, and through our network and through the ecosystem we're developing, and through the phenomenal work that our students are going to do, we are going to be able to advocate for internships at middle school level positions, or job shadowing and internships at that level. And that will be within the larger community and industry sectors within the state. So we will get there. We'll be fine, and it's going to be a great journey. This is a very exciting time for us, and I'm really looking forward to working together with everyone. So our next steps, and this is just straight off the memo, the welcome email we sent out a few days ago, and there's some active links on here. There's the ecosystem mapping workshop at Pasadena, which is the 26th, which is next Thursday, and another in San Mateo on the 2nd of February. These links will take you to the Eventbrite. Please come along and meet your colleagues and members of the community, and we'll be looking at both ecosystem mapping and Kumu. Okay, have a look at the calendar of events on the CCC Maker website. If you look at the calendar, it's going to have upcoming events that link to registration, and then events that have already passed will be uploaded as they become available. So if there's a webinar you missed, click on that link and it will take you to the webinar. If you have any difficulties, please email me at cccmaker.com. And here's a key one. Save the date for Maker Faire on May 19th through 21st. That will be the opportunity for us all to get together and share our implementation plans. And we're working on having a public presentation of the implementation plans, so that we can actually share what we're doing with people, attendees at the Maker Faire. So that should be really exciting too. Where will the Maker Faire be held? That's in San Mateo. There'll be more information coming on that. It's been suggested that you make arrangements for accommodation as soon as possible, because apparently it does fill up really quickly, but we'll have more information coming on that now. I noticed that someone is saying that you're not in session until early February, and yes, we understand that. That's one of the other reasons that we have a flexible approach to the work of developing the implementation plan, because we know that every college has a different schedule. Right. All right. Ron says, thanks for posting all the items on the Maker site. Right, okay. I've got a question here. Is the event for the Maker movement isolated to the 19th only? Yeah, well, the event that we're talking about is the 19th. However, we would encourage everyone to stay for the weekend as well, to really enjoy the Maker Faire. But there'll be more information on that as we come to it. Okay, questions? No. Oh, and here's a couple of resources that we had from the previous earlier webinar. I'd suggest if you haven't had a look at those, please do. And finally, our contacts. If you need to contact us about curriculum and community of practice, I'm the main contact on that. Salomon will be the main contact for internships. Funding and contractual issues will be with Carol in Sierra College, and communications and website is handled by Karen. So, but if you email to me, I will make sure your questions get to whoever's needed. All right, is there any other questions? If you would like, you can either write a question right here in the Q&A section, or you can email me a question later on. I do have one. Oh, when will funds be released? That's a Carol question. Yes, the funding to participate in the events will come out of the seed money, absolutely. And that the rest of that is a funding question. That's Carol. So I'll be forwarding these questions to Carol. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I see here Karen has corrected me. Yeah, the Maker Faire is the 20th and the 21st. Our event is on the 19th. Thank you for that clarification. And then the introductory packet, yes, that went out. We can resend it if you haven't received it, Israel. Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I want to thank everyone very much. And we got in just under an hour. This is great. So, all right, you guys, have a wonderful weekend. You'll be getting a lot more information from us next week. I'm really looking forward to meeting everyone. One of the things I'd like to do, just as a final note, is actually start doing some conference calls so I can actually see and hear other people as well. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, well, thanks very much. And that's it. Bye for now.